After a long season of ranked, there is a massive amount of variety in strong compositions. Even looking at top 500 leaderboards, there's a crazy amount of different heroes in all different roles, and especially in different regions there are different preferences. It's a good state for the game, but preference and comfort can only get you so far against the objectively best compositions. And after all, the team that wins the Overwatch League and the rank 1 players for each role can only really do so by playing a strong composition to perfection, sometimes even proving how good it is by showing how hard it can go. Trying to get to GM1, top 500, and even further, use a link in the description below to get access to a GameLeap membership. There are tons of great guides on the GameLeap website by experts across all roles, and even courses on how to maximize your mechanics, game sense, and map awareness. Use that link to learn more about the game, and without any further ado, here are the top 10 compositions right now, from worst to best. At number 10, we have the Baptiste Eliari spam composition, but with Wrecking Ball, who is usually pretty bad, struggling into most other strong tanks right now, who can either stun him or block his slam. But playing hidden behind the enemy team, calculating your pile driver engages to make sure they hit the backline without getting stunned, means knocking your targets up to be instantly one-shot by Eliari, Baptiste, and any number of different damage heroes. Sojourn with her rail, Ashe with her scoped-in shots, and even Soldier 76 does enough damage per second just with his pulse rifle to clean up kills. It's a composition based off of the slam, and also just has an insane amount of poke damage, being able to burst any hero in their sightlines super effectively. However, it loses out to more sustainable comps with shields, bubbles, and even hard dive heroes that can look to one-shot the backline with utility like Ana's Biotic Nade or Sombra's Hack. Not to mention that some comps are almost impossible for Wrecking Ball to dive into, making it really hard for him to engage and making him have to play really scared, not allowing him to slam very often. But as for Wrecking Ball comps, it's actually the one way he can work, and it's not too bad either. It can definitely still win, even against a complete mirror but with an Orisa instead of the ball, since although Orisa wins against the ball in a 1v1 or whenever they're both on the ground, the ball can use high grounds to stage a slam, making it a lot harder for the Orisa to use her spin or spear to stop the engage. At number 9 is another lesser played tank hero with Sigma, but not accompanied by the normal Widow and Zenyatta for Circuit Royale and sometimes Havana. Instead, with Brigitte for a solid space controlling comp that can handle even Orisa. Baptiste is still pretty necessary to round out the comp, but Brig is ideal for helping the Sigma take space quickly and adding to his brawling ability. Heroes that can close distance on Sigma and start hitting him with melee abilities will end up giving the Brig Inspire, and with Whipshot, they won't be able to fully punish the Sigma. Sigma is usually known only on the maps where sightlines are unbelievably oppressive, but there are plenty of maps in the game with long flat areas where Sigma can thrive, especially on some of the newer maps like Midtown. But the comp doesn't need to put all the eggs into the spam basket, but rather focuses on angle and map control, with Sigma being able to pressure choke points from afar, Brig holding corners, and Baptiste staying alive as one of the strongest duelists in the support category. Sigma also has a really favorable matchup into Junker Queen and Orisa, especially his Rock being super effective at punishing them when they try to engage. And the Gravitic Flux is still an amazing ultimate just due to the fact that it lifts your targets up, allowing them to be one shot in the sky where they can't be lamped by Baptiste or Suzu'd by Kiriko. The composition isn't amazing on all maps, but with Brig, even the closer range maps end up being way more winnable. At number 8 is the first dive comp, but something definitely new, and probably something you've seen in your ranked games. Doomfist spam dive, often with an Ana Brig backline to help the Doomfist push aggressively, but with a Sojourn, Echo, or Soldier to lay down crazy damage from afar. Doomfist has more concentrated damage compared to Winston, who's able to zap both supports at once. And even though Doomfist has his area of effect slam and punch, his hand cannon needs to be focused on one target or the small damage that he does will get watered down. He's a very hit or miss character with his engages, but luckily he's got the mobility to escape. But during that downtime, heroes like Sojourn and Echo are looking for rail shots and sticky bombs, all while laying down some great spam damage. So if Doomfist does punch someone into a wall, you can expect some serious burst damage to follow. And even if the engage doesn't succeed, there's plenty of damage being done in the meanwhile as long as the Doomfist survives to dive another day. Back to terrorize the tier lists, it's Orisa at number 7 with Baptiste and Eliari in the classic spam comp. And with how strong Baptiste and Eliari can be with just a Wrecking Ball, with an Orisa instead, the focus on the front line is that much more devastating. Even Sigma can struggle against the amount of damage coming in, and the thing that makes Orisa so strong is her combo potential with all sorts of ultimates. In pro play, Genji is definitely the most underused combo with Orisa's Terra Surge, but he's perfect for slashing targets inside the pull range as well as using his dash to quickly cleave through everyone in the radius. Not to mention that Captive Sun is the perfect combo, as well as Bastion, who's often played in the same comp, with the Terra Surge and Artillery Strike combo when timed well will delete your enemies in no time flat. The composition is also really easy to play, but still gets more advanced with smarter cooldown usage, pushing together, and with great aim comes great pick potential. Although it may seem quite low at number 7, we'll be seeing Orisa further up the list in a different form, so she's not quite done yet. Now for the special Reinhardt composition for number 6. It's a classic comp that is fun and fast to play, with explosive potential that only needs a Lucio to really get the ball rolling. And there are tons of different ways to play the Reinhardt comp. Even though the Symmetra Bastion is a popular high power option, Sojourn and Mei can both be slotted in depending on the maps, since high grounds and choke points can make it harder for Bastion and Symmetra to close distance. Instead, Sojourn and Mei can get great control over space to get value out of their Disruptor Shot and Ice Wall. The composition has strong flexibility, able to hold space, take it, and fight at both long and close range, even though it's best used up close and melee distance. You definitely need a good Rein player to make it work, but as the tank, it's important to not be afraid to take space aggressively and fast, since going slow is wasting your time and your resources. And as the team helping the Reinhardt, sticking close with him and pushing hard is really important to also not slow down your engage. Sombra is back for number 5 with the classic Sombra Tracer Winston dive that's still super strong and favored by top players. In ranked, it's much harder to pull off, but on maps like Dorado and Gibraltar, the high grounds are simply so strong that you need to have the option to play vertically, jumping up and dropping from above. Sombra isn't the most vertical hero, but when you have high ground control, it's really easy to engage on isolated targets, which she can identify and debuff, making the comp as strong as it is. The Ana also has the crazy strong biotic nade that is crucial to making plays, comboing perfectly with the rest of the composition's diving utility. And this utility is what really makes the comp so powerful, blocking heals with Winston Bubble, applying anti-healing with the Ana nade, and silencing abilities with Sombra Hack, all in one composition makes for the best dive comp of Overwatch 2. Again, it's a really difficult comp to play, but it's definitely one of the strongest so far, and trying it in ranked is worth it to raise your skill level and evolve at the game. But definitely stick to the dive maps to avoid getting lasered by all the bonkers high damage in the game right now that melts right through Winston and can one-tap the Tracer. Number 4 puts a more balanced spin on the Winston dive, and plays Sojourn instead of Sombra. Sojourn is a great hero for focus fire and consistent frontline damage, as well as being able to avoid dives herself with her power slide, so she fits right into the dive comp. In the mirror, she can handle her own really well, and it often means she beats out the Sombra, who has to focus on getting kills on squishies. But with Sojourn being so nimble, it's hard to pin her down, and focusing only on the backline means that they'll often be able to use their support ultimates and abilities to keep each other alive. An aggressive Sojourn is really hard to control, and it also gives a lot of options to beat slower compositions that don't dive at all. The Sojourn can put a lot of damage pressure completely on her own, while the rest of the team takes space, and when the enemy frontline has to turn around to help survive the Winston dive, the Sojourn can get all the room in the world to work with, hitting shots and walking up dangerously close. It's a nice balanced composition, a hard-hitting burst dive, a resilient backline, and pick potential and range damage on top of the great cleave from both the Sojourn's Disruptor Shot and the Winston Tesla Cannon. AoE damage has always been great in Overwatch's history. And now for the top 3, we're entering the Bastion Rush zone. For the bronze spot, we have Zarya Bastion Rush, using the Bastion as a bubble target and pushing super far with high energy and high turret form presence. It's a good mix between slow burn poke and insanely fast tempo, since it can both beam targets mid-range and turn corners with insane burst damage and ultimates. Zarya's beam is also ideal for a lot of strong tanks right now, including Orisa and Sigma, and Graviton Surge is still a top ultimate in the game. Even just the fact that people always try to deny it means it's a top priority to stop it from getting full value. Zarya's range is also underrated, and on close to mid-range maps, she can effortlessly swap between ranges, dealing consistent damage, and at high energy can hit some crazy clutches at the end of the fights where all the cooldowns are running out. Now rapid fire onto number 2, Orisa replaces Zarya as the pick, but without the Iliadi, she's free to run in hard, laying down heavy damage to the front line and completely zoning the backline when she gets onto them, and she doesn't even have to charge up her damage like Zarya does to do so. It's definitely key to remember that Zarya and Orisa are both getting nerfs, but Orisa's damage is still untouched, with Zarya's projected bubble being reverted to an older form, making it more viable to break the bubble and push right through to your target. Orisa is a more committed and less vulnerable tank in the early fight, and pushing first and fast is an easy move that is a secret tip to win most of your ranked games even up until top 500. And the best person for pushing first and fast is number 1. The only other tank option for the Bastion Rush left, Junker Queen. And Junker Queen with just her shout makes this already fast comp impossible to handle. 2 tons of steel and muscle turning the corner with insane amounts of damage, both with the Bastion's turret form and the Queen's almost unblockable melee slashes not only is perfect to destroy backline in an instant, but any enemy Bastion has to play so much more safe, not able to contest you during your engage. And Queen's poke damage is just enough to not have to go in all the time. If you do push all the time, it's much more easily predicted and prepared for. Her rampage is also great to open fights up and get behind the enemy, forcing them to use abilities to cleanse or survive the engage, and then turn around, trying to deal with the tank that's now in their backline. But that lets your team beam the rest of the squad. Combined with the classic Symmetra as well, the positions the comp can take are limitless, and make it a nightmare to deal with. That's it for the top 10 compositions in the game right now, based off of pro play and top ranked games. Because there's a lot of variety in these compositions, make sure to try them out in ranked for yourself and find out what you want to master. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.